Hi again, everyone. Brian Rhodes here. I trust all is right with all of you out there today. I want to get right to the point, if I may, today. A lot to discuss. As you know, I've been participating in a number of STEEM meetups, EOS meetups, and gatherings to discuss both platforms, etc. And as a result, I've met a number of EOS block producers as well as EOS enthusiasts, two of which started a project called EOSindex.io. They were asking me my advice on a number of things. I've been contributing as best I can, etc. And as a result of that, they'd asked me to be an advisor on their site. So if you go to their site, you're going to see me as an advisor there. And I'm looking forward to helping out there. I think they have a wonderful project, but what's nice about it, it's going to allow me to keep track of all of the things developing on the EOS blockchain, as well as all of you out there. So I'm excited by it. Now, just to describe it, I'll talk more about it later, it's really a directory for projects on the blockchain and a spot where those project developers can post jobs, etc., the talent that they're looking for to help them with their project. So, again, more about that later. But one of the reasons I've been trying to stay in touch with developments on EOS is because, well, when I first joined Steemit, the founders on Steem were obviously working together, but shortly thereafter, they parted ways. And since then, there's always been these rumors or comments. Will Dan Larmer, obviously the founder of EOS, when he launches EOS, will he include in that or shortly thereafter a platform, a social media network on that platform? So it's always been in the back of my mind ever since EOS was announced, and so hence keeping in touch. And I can tell you that as a result of that communication, I can say with from my perspective, reasonable certainty, although never known until it's launched, that block.io intends to launch a Steemit-like EOS social media network on the EOS platform as early as this month. Now, it's going to happen, in my opinion. Whether it'll happen this month or later, no one really knows, but I might suspect not. And why? Well, because of the problems that EOS is facing. Now, again, I don't know if those problems are going to impede the launch of the Steemit-like platform, but nonetheless, those problems are pretty serious and have certainly been posed comments where people appear to be, for the most part, pretty disappointed in the results of EOS platforms so far. Some good things, but nonetheless, some pretty disappointing results. And a lot of it, I think, well, when you think about it, it's had over a year to plan its release, to work on the code, etc., and to decide on matters relating to such things as governance, for example, which they made a big part of their platform, only to find out that on development, they weren't prepared for governance. Right out of the blocks, they ran into problems on governance. And in other areas, they've run into problems too. There's now been a developing market on RAM that's put the price of RAM literally out of reach for most people and impeding the development on the project. They have an interim constitution that needs ratification and amending, quite frankly. And there's no way to do it, at least no proposed way yet. They have a worker proposal fund that's gaining $1 million a day, but they have not developed a way or a method to distribute that money. In fact, the stakeholders have no means to even vote on solutions for these issues. And then, of course, there's the big problem of whales, you know, which I find really humorous, quite frankly, because all the steps taken to avoid problems with whales that EOS was undertaking from the get-go. Anyway, having said that, the funny part about it is that the whale problem with EOS is such a problem that it's brought about a proposed fork already in the EOS blockchain. It's called TELOS. TELOS. The token proposed is going to be TLOS, and it is going to be a fork on the EOS blockchain. And amongst the reasons given, well, the number one reason given was, and I quote, to remove the extreme economic power of a small number of whales by capping the value of every address in the Genesis snapshot at 40,000 Telos, TLOS tokens, okay? Interesting. So, that in itself will tell you that whenever a platform is launched, it sets up its own set of circumstances, its own set of difficulties, its own set of problems. It's the nature of the beast. I'm sure they could have gone to some extent and avoided some of these problems because of maybe their impatience. But nonetheless, some of these improvements that are proposed for Telos are pretty interesting. One, of course, being the standard pay model for block producers. They're including 21 regulars and 30 standbys, and they're going to allow the standbys to roll in for 6 or 7 hours each week, produce blocks so they are ready to go in the event they're called on, and they're making income. I think that's great. Also, such as they're going to propose the inflation rate on the new Telos platform or blockchain to be reduced to 2.5% compared to the 5% on the EOS blockchain, and so on. I'm bringing this up for a number of reasons, but the primary reason is to give you some idea of how these launches unfold, and it will be no different than the new Steemit proposed launch. I hesitate to call it Steemit. The scuttlebutt out there is that it's going to be called EOSIT, Eosit. Sounds pretty cool, actually. But anyway, having said that, who knows? But the idea is that on its launch, hell, it's going to have its own set of problems. It's just the nature of the beast. And it seems that in the crypto world, the one thing that a lot of people developers throw out the window is patience. As you can see here, the patience of the people behind Telos to remove the whales problem has prompted them within 8 weeks, as opposed to trying to work out the system within the EOS parameters, etc. They decided to hard fork. I mean, how more impatient can you be? Nonetheless, they've got a couple of good ideas, but hey, it'll have its own set of problems too. So what does all this mean for Steemit? Well, quite frankly, it means competition, which is always healthy, but it also means opportunity. Look, when this is launched and when this Eosit is launched, and it will be launched in my opinion, it'll, as I say, develop its own set of problems, problems a lot of which we've already overcome. The first difficulty they're going to have is to identify the problems that they are going to have or are having. That's going to take time, believe it or not, because it's not going to work like perfectly out of the block. It just doesn't happen out of the blocks, I should say. It just doesn't happen that way, and it'll be no different. Nice thing about Steemit and Steem is that we've been at it for 2 years. We've got a big leg up on them. We've identified those problems. We've got some solutions for those problems that I hope we're going to start moving on once the new Eosit platform is launched, so that we can start moving forward on Steem. It's pretty exciting times for us. 2 years is a big leg up for us as far as competition is concerned. And believe me, Eosit will not be the last of the competition for Steem and Steemit. There'll be competition for Eosit down the line. Who knows when that's going to come along, but it will be there. This crypto world, blockchain world, is a huge world. We're going to have all sorts of competition. And as I said, competition is healthy for us and for everyone. So, we've got to not look at and identifying problems as being, overwhelming. We're going to have whale problems. You can't stop the gaming of a system. It's just going to happen. You can start isolating that, but start doing that in time. You can't be obsessed over trying to fix all the little things that aren't working perfectly and do them in one fell swoop. It doesn't happen that way, and you can't expect people to work in that way. You have to be patient. Once EOS is released, and then once we see where it's going, what it's designed to do, that's different or similar to what Steemit's designed to do, then we'll find our way. It will find its way, and away we go. And I hope it's at that point after their release or launch that we'll have some action and or some information released on the scheduling of some of the solutions that we're expecting to deploy at Steemit. So all I can say to everybody out there who is anticipating this new platform, it's a really good event. It's going to give us a benchmark to work by. But there's one thing I just want us to understand, or at least I would like everybody to understand, is that we get nowhere in STEAM or in life, quite frankly, coming from scarcity. We have to come from abundance. We have to start looking forward and start moving forward in spite of drawbacks, in spite of setbacks, and so on. So all I would ask you to do is, these are exciting times without question. And start thinking about how you're going to develop your presence on Steemit, and start working towards a plan to get yourselves to SteamFest 3. I'm excited as hell about that, and I'm looking forward to that as well. So that's all I want to say today. I'll try to keep you abreast of what I think is happening, how I think things will develop. But you watch too. There's lots of sites out there, etc. There's lots of locations on Steemit and elsewhere that you can get this information. I'm just trying to wrap it into a package in which I can give my perspective, for what it's worth, okay? Anyways, having said that, enough for now. I look forward to my next post, and soon. You take care. Bye-bye.